So we're here in Beirut with Prospect's newest signing / family member, Sarah, aka SOVA.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm happy to be here, actually.
Do you like Beirut so
fucking
far?
Love Beirut. Yeah, fucking love Beirut.
Nice.
Yeah, this is let's start straight away. This is actually your roots, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm born and raised here. I left for university to live in Paris, where I lived for like 10 years. So I'm now also French, but I'm originally Lebanese, yes.
And then you live actually in Spain right now, right?
Now I live in Spain, yeah. I moved to Spain when I graduated from law school in Paris, and then I worked a bit as a lawyer. And then I decided to work remotely, to leave, because I really needed the sun and the sea and something that's more, familiar for me.
Yeah, I can get that. Fun fact, we're here, the weather is
fantastic.
Yeah, really hot, so I get it.
Yeah, so I love that, so that's why I decided to go for Barcelona, and now I'm based in Barcelona.
Okay. Why we're sitting here is for a lot of, I think, the people also that know Prospect, they don't know you yet. And but you've been on our radar for a while now, actually, and blew our minds with this new EP, a 2-tracker.
Yeah.
But it's actually just part one of course, many things. We'll talk about that in a bit. First of all, how did you get into this music coming from Lebanon?
It's funny. I started with Techno, so when I started DJing with Techno. When I started even producing, it was more in Techno. And actually, the first harder electronic music that I listened to was Millennium with Mark Acardipane, and I didn't know that it was that. I thought it was Techno back then. It was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's only when I discovered more the hardcore world that I realized that, this was Millennium, this is actually something I really like. So what I like most in hardcore is industrial hardcore and Millennium. It's kind of what I like to play and make. And I make more industrial, but I really like the melodies of Millennium, and it's just something that speaks to me because I really like the sound of heavy kicks with those old school melodies, and in industrial it's a lot the sound design that really brought me to this, because I felt that with Techno it was a bit easier to make, and it depends, but just designing the kicks in industrial hardcore was, such a challenge, and I love challenges. And I also really like sound design, and it's really the heavy kicks with like more atmospheric and dreamy elements in terms of melodies, which are also for me very important, and that I lack sometimes in hardcore.
I can definitely hear it in your music. I mean, it's what I like about it, I'll just throw it in there, is you've got the industrial sound, you've got the hardcore sound, the techno sound, but you're bringing your own kind of unique atmospheric vibe to it. That is, I think, I noticed straight away this unique kind of sound that you have that is yours. How many years have you been producing?
So I've been so the first time that I opened Ableton was maybe 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and I was just messing around. It was nothing serious. And then I started producing more seriously when I lost my best friend in 2020. I kind of found this healing thing with making music, because it was the only way for me to let out my emotions, and in ways that with sometimes with words you can't really express. And it actually really saved me. Like, looking back, it was the only thing that I wanted to do, other than being in my bed and just being sad. So
it's the way to channel your
emotions. And so I really I started making music more seriously back then, and I think that it's been maybe 2.5 years that I'm very serious with it. Like, countless hours in the studio every day, like trying to juggle work, music balance more than work life, because you choose not to have too much of a life if you want to make music very seriously. But Yeah, so I just spent all the hours that I could making music, perfecting my sound, trying to get to the level, because you know it's so hard to make this kind of music. I think it's one of the most challenging genres. So.
It is challenging. What really surprised me also is, and I get sent a lot of music, of course, that for the first thing I got from you, the production level was really high. I was like, okay, this is a nerd.
There is a guy that said one day during an interview, I don't remember who it was, but life is a series of obsessions. Mm-hmm. And I really feel that with music, because I really got obsessed and like I couldn't manage to make the kicks I wanted. I just really wanted to understand everything about it, and it took a lot of like tears and frustrations and effort, but at the end I'm happy that now I got where I got, and I worked hard enough to be able to also translate the music that I wanted to translate, you know. And I really also like to add a bit my oriented roots in my melodies sometimes, and just like also other influences. And I really like to make also not just hardcore, and I don't really want to just be labeled with hardcore. I really like, you know, with the album, like breakcore, ambient, IDM, like techno. There's a lot of different genres that I like to make and that I think are interesting. And even in my sets, I try to blend a bit genres, play a bit of drum and bass, breakcore sometimes, more experimental stuff. I would love to do more experimental sets, you know, like just breakcore or, you know, IGM and breakcore or something like that. I really like that as well. So I also wanted to kind of make, you know, position myself like this, because I feel like right now, before everybody used to start a side project to have a different sound, and you needed to do exactly the same thing, you know?
Fuck that.
Right? I don't like that. It's a bit boring to me. So that's also what I want to do moving forward.
And going on that, I mean, what also surprised me is usually when you hear from a new artist, relative new then, I mean, you've been working hard. Fun fact, Sarah has been producing like a maniac, and actually I think you've been putting that as number one over DJing in the first instance, which of course, you know, a lot of the times works the other way around. But what really surprised me is that you didn't go for just sending 2 tunes, but you made a whole album. Where did you get the idea from to go this full force crazy and push yourself instead of just, let's get some tunes out straight away? I'm gonna make a whole album for a very picky label like Prospect.
Yeah, so I mean, there is a guy in Techno, Richter, that did that. He sent to the 44 label back then, like maybe I think 30 tracks, and I heard this like a while ago, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. Like, it's really nice that first of all you can send a lot to have variety, to let people choose, but also just to immediately come with a statement, you know? Because I feel like if I would have sent you like just 4 hardcore tracks, okay, cool, but I also want to have breakcore, I also want to have ambient, I also want to have IGM, I also want to show diversity, more broken hardcore, you know, like something.
Yeah, which appeals me more. I mean, I think people know that, like, I don't really get very excited from 10 tracks in the same genre. And what kind of really got me is like, you've got the slow industrial techno stuff, you've got the hardcore stuff on there, but I really like the kind of more experimental breakcore stuff. That's a complicated genre to produce.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know what's really hard for me is that I don't use a randomizer. Like, you know, sometimes for breakcore you have randomizer plugins that I just...
All the good ones don't use the randomizer.
I just position one by one.
Yeah, it's cut and paste.
And like to sidechain also, it's a bit difficult, but it was a bit challenging, but for some reason it's something that comes very naturally to me, way more than even hardcore.
But is it, because I saw Sarah play last night, and it was a great set, it was very energetic, kept me, this old tired man, actually very alive. But I heard a few of the parts in there, and especially when you've got your breakcore stuff going on in there, I hear the Middle East.
Yeah, it's the melodies, I think, that are a bit more...
But is that also a rhythm-wise thing, why you said it kind of feels...
Sometimes, yeah. I some of the percussive elements also are more oriental, like it's more used in Middle Eastern music, and I feel like the melodies that go out of me are naturally sometimes very oriental, so I like the combination of both, and I like this with harder music.
And it brings something different to the table.
Yeah. And it's emotional, which I really like that's what I miss a lot when it's just tracks with kicks. I feel like sometimes I play tracks like this and it's cool sometimes in the set to break a little bit, but what really touches me is melodies. Like I miss that in hard music sometimes, you know.
Is that also an influence then from, because you said you like the Millennium sound?
Yeah, I like Millennium sound, but also...
But there are sometimes the melodies though were a bit cheesy.
Of course,
you know?
And it can be cheesy, and I sometimes a touch of cheesiness can be cool in a set, you know, but yes, I can see that, but some of them are really cool and dark. I think a lot of the melodies that I like and relate with is more like dark and sad melodies, more emotional, melancholic, exactly. With breakcore as well, I really like this, a lot of my influences in breakcore, it's more melodic breakcore, you know, like Maybe My Dear, Igor.
I can definitely hear that in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it blew our minds, production level is very good, but it's also straight away got its own unique sound. I was talking to the Ghost in the Machine guys, but technically you're kind of like the new hardest working woman in hardcore for us, like because you do this. You've been producing like crazy, but you also got Rear.
Yeah.
Tell us something about that.
Yeah, so Rear is the collective that I founded. It's actually, the idea initially started with, I want to make parties to kind of show different types of industrial sounds that I feel are a bit missing, but also more experimental stuff. I really wanted to show a little bit a sound that I feel right now is not really being represented, even in techno. We have in techno a lot of like very mainstreamy sound that are coming now from hardstyle with screeches and
the old TikTok
hardstyle
techno stuff.
Exactly, which I really, really don't like, and I feel like it's a bit, everybody is doing that, and it's a bit boring, I feel, and repetitive, and I wanted to showcase something different. And also I like this progression from techno to hardcore, and more like in general industrial sounds, because right now I feel like in the scene there is a lot of you know, it's all going together in terms of like industrial techno and industrial hardcore are being played also in sets, and I also like to do that myself, and I feel like there is something to show to the techno crowd that they don't really know that they like, but that they actually like.
All the industrial hardcore and industrial tech, they've always flirted with each other, the genres, you know, they're, you know, a lot of people, I think, when they think hardcore, they think fast, of course. But you have so much like, in the years you've had so much great, dark, slow industrial hardcore also.
Which I love.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's so atmospheric. I think also that's a mistake where people think you have to go fast to go hard, and that's of course...
That's not true. Most of my sets are around 150 for the big majority of the set, and it's really hard. So, and I think it's really about the sound design and not about the pace. You can have tracks at 180 that don't sound hard because there is no transience and it's not, you know, there's no impact, you don't feel it. So, I think it's a mistake to think that, and I also want to change this perception as well, because also now, I think all the scenes, the BPM is like, I think everybody pushed it like 10, 20 BPM, you know?
Yeah, I come in for somebody that plays fast himself, I don't get it.
But that's the style also, you know, like of what you play, and you've always played like that, but a lot of people that used to play, in techno for example, 130 BPM play now 150, 160, and something normal. So all the scenes I think are becoming more aggressive and more about like pace, and even in parties it's very much now about social media and the drop, you know, like
EDM, it's become EDM.
Absolutely, and I also want to, I don't want to have that with Rear, you know, I want to have more educated crowds that understand that it's not just about a stupid kick, you know, and an impact, and hardstyle kicks taken from a sample pack, and then the techno kick, and just that, and the impact, and that's it. No, like, I want them to appreciate more the sound design behind this, and artists that really work very hard on that, because the other thing that I want to do with beer, which is very important for me, is to push producers that are talented, because I feel like right now the cancer of the scene is DJs that feel that they have rights on other people's music, and that use other people's music to get famous on social media, get gigs, get visibility, never credit them even though they're doing the work and they're allowing them to have a job, And I really want to push producers first. So on my lineups, I want to have cool producers and musicians, people that really put in the work and contribute with creations to the scene. And now I started, of course, the agency and the label, because I also want to, in the same idea, showcase the sound that I like and that I think is, worth pushing and helping, put out there, and kind of bringing everything back a bit to the music, which it doesn't feel right now that this is the most important thing, but it really
But it is
be.
the most important thing.
Yeah.
Just fun fact, like for me, I get super excited to meet a new generation like you that actually wants to put in the work again, because we need it, like, as a scene. The scene is, like, especially when it comes to quality music, is at a rough point at the moment. It's not very, and that's also, like, I found it, throwing in some of my own expertise here, I found it very difficult at the moment, like even with a prospect, because we used to have so many other labels and agencies and this and that was great because that makes a scene, but a lot had disappeared, and it's not healthy for the scene. So it just makes me happy that there's people that everyone actually want to put in the work, because it is a shit job.
But it's also nice to meet people like you that are so happy to encourage newcomers and people from the new generation, and that, I mean, you're the only guy that released the only women that make industrial hardcore, so it's something
I heard that. Yeah.
Really nice. Yeah, it's cool. I think it's really nice, and it shows, that you're very supportive, which is not the case of a lot of people, I mean, I think there's a lot of people also from the older generation that's a bit frustrated with everything that's happening.
Yeah, they're a bit sour, but don't you think in the end you can sit in a corner and complain about the new generation or about the scene or this and that, or you can just put in the work, use it as a kind of like, I got back into making music just because I was frustrated, like, there's nothing I like, well then I'm just going to do it myself. It should be that way.
Absolutely.
Nobody's waiting for people to complain. Bring something positive like you're doing now. But okay, now I'm thinking though, why did you send your music to Prospect?
I always wanted Prospect because it's a label that I really like. I love a lot of the music that you released. I mean, a lot of the artists that influenced me have released this with you, for breakcore, but also for hardcore. I think it was just the most fitting to my sound, and it has...
I agree.
Yeah. I really like the idea that it's a label that's very versatile, I think a lot of labels are very, very want to be consistent and have exactly the same thing, and with Rear I don't want to do that, and I feel like with Prospect it's the same thing, where you have, more experimental stuff, you have drum and bass, and somehow it all makes sense, it can all kind of fit in the same family, but I think it was just the obvious choice, and for the quality of the releases that you had as well, and I guess you have a good taste. But yeah, I think it just made sense, and it really helps that the owner is really cool.
Who's the owner, by the way? No. Hey. Going back to it, so yeah, 2-tracker, then another 2-tracker, then the album's coming out. People out there will hear more about this, but the bottom line, there's an album coming out.
Yeah,
I think that's the most important. We've got some teasers coming up in the meantime, but the album's coming out later this year. With the album, it's going to be a special thing, totally, but people will hear more about it. But with an album on Prospect comes a show at Prospect itself, of course.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. It's going to be really fun.
We haven't even released a lineup. You're going to be one of the first people that hear this now will know, of course, that you play. Technically, most people know when a new artist comes on the label, they will expect them to play at XL. What can people expect? Talk to the Prospect crowd here. Talk to the Prospect Raven crew worldwide here. SOVA. She comes to the Masilo, gets behind the decks.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be a very, diverse set. It's going to be a lot of, like, of course, the main part, the main, consistent thing in the set is going to be industrial hardcore, but I'm going to add, breakcore, my experimental tracks. I want to do something around the album, probably, to showcase a bit the album and how I would mix the tracks together, and it's really different stuff. There's broken, as I said, hardcore, there is classic industrial hardcore, there is more experimental tracks, breakcore tracks. I mean, on the digital album, there's around 14 tracks, so there's a lot.
Ambient on there
as well, yeah. So I'm going to try to put as much as I can from the album in this set. I think that it's going to be interesting because it's going to be very different genres mixed together, and I think that's going to be probably interesting for people to see something a bit diverse. And I guess the crowd that comes to XL is
they want that,
crowd.
of course.
Yeah.
That's I can honestly say we're lucky with that. We're blessed with our people because they get it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's nice to see people knowing the tracks, knowing the music, caring.
It's refreshing, right?
Yeah, it's really refreshing. So I'm really excited and looking forward to play, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, well, we are too, and we're excited for the album. Yeah. We're excited to have you aboard.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be part of the Prospect.
Wow. You are mega welcome. Hey, so for people that listeners, keep posted. Check out the teaser. The album's really good. I can say that. I can vouch for it. I signed the fucker, so... and, follow her on the socials too. This woman here is doing a lot of interesting stuff. Follow Rear Collective also, and you're not ready for the album to drop, right? They're not ready, right?
I don't know. I'm really excited to hear the feedback and to know what they think. I think with the 2-tracker, it's already just to put them in the...
Yeah, and it works.
Yeah. They can see a little bit my sound, but with the album it's going to be very different stuff as well, so I'm really excited to know what they think, if they like it, because of course also with breakcore it's weirder music and it's stuff that is a bit less mainstream, so I'm curious to know if they're going to like that side as well,
And if they don't, that's no problem. No, but an album should be diverse. That's why I love it on it. It goes all across the place, takes you on a journey, sucks you in, spits you out, just the way it should be,
Exactly.
Okay, well.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.